Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Loaded HQ Christmas Special. We could not go into Christmas without having a little bit of a special. The flagship show Friday night with the boys, and you know what? It's great to signal off the year, or certainly celebrate Christmas by having our flagship show with the boys. So, Daz, Richie, Chris, how are you all?
I'm good, mate. You?
All good, Pete. All good.
Very, very good. And of course, we can't have a Christmas special without having a special guest. So let's see if you recognise him in disguise. Let's welcome him in.
Who is it?
It's Liam Kennedy. How you doing, Liam?
I'm all good, lads. All good. How we
Welcome
doing?
back, Liam. Christmas with Kennedy. Love it.
I'm so Christmas today. I've got my laptop propped up on a case of Moretti.
Yeah. Love it, mate. Absolutely love it. Look, it's great to have you on. We've been talking about this for months since you last came on. So absolutely spot on for you to come on at this point. Pleasure to have you on as always. Part of the furniture within the Loaded HQ community. So welcome you in. Look, I'm going to get straight into it. First and foremost, obviously, since the last time we spoke, you are now working for a different paper, you're now Newcastle World. So how have things gone since you since you've kicked into the new role as editor at Newcastle World? How's things?
Oh.
What is this? We said festive, not festival. Festive.
Hang on. Mark, man, you divvy. We said it was a Liam special, not you come as Liam special. Digging loon.
Daz, you text me today and went, Christmas special, Liam's coming on, think of a fucking tribute. And now I'm all dressed up, and now I feel totally stupid. It's not even the other Liam.
I knew. Do you know what? I knew from the moment I thought I was coming on this show. I knew you'd have something lined up. I knew it.
Do you know what it is?
Does he even know we've got the other fellow from Newcastle World on?
Don't tell him. This is going out on New Year's Eve or on Christmas Eve. So
I'm telling you something. Ray's not going to be happy. I'm telling you.
Anyway, how are you, Liam?
All good. I love it. Absolutely love your get up there. Quality.
Thanks very much. I'm sweating, I have to say.
Oh, fucking surprised. Jesus Christ.
You're looking a bit. You're actually with a hat and the glasses. You're looking a bit Jamiroquai.
Yeah. Definitely.
JK. Never let it go. Anyway,
how's
everybody?
JK.
Cheers, everyone. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Well, as always, Mark never lets anyone down with his entrances, and he certainly hasn't this year. So absolutely spot on, Mark. Classic stuff.
Thanks, lads. I'm gonna take this jacket off if you don't mind. It's stupid. Hold on.
You need to stay in character, man. You need to stay in character. It's only fair.
Cheers, Mark.
How's
Off.
Yeah. Love it.
Right, I'm good. Let's go.
Start again.
You know what, Liam? I forgot why I even asked you. Something to do with Newcastle World. How is it going with the editor?
I know. I forgot who I'm working for. It's normally the catchphrase that throws me. Never mind this.
Ooh, don't spoil it.
No. What's lined up in there?
Part two.
Newcastle World. It's been a long time since I've been on here, lads. Just so busy with the whole project. We're sort of like a startup website in the Newcastle area. A branch off, still at JPI Media. It's been a really fun experience. Started off as a Newcastle United writer. Editor left for a number of reasons. I was offered the job as editor, given that I'm from the area. I know the area, worked for the company for a long time. Just got stuck into it, really. It's the way I see our website is just a real positive look on the city itself, a look into the real issues, and not just reporting the rubbish, not just reporting the crimes, all this kind of thing. It's almost digging a little bit deeper and find out what the real issues are in the city. So at the moment, we're running through a survey on what people think about the city, and just diving into issues like, what do you really believe that the dire state of the Tyne Bridge is a big factor in Newcastle's sort of image? Little things like that people might think, or is it worth spending that? Would you prefer money to be spent if it were on a local level on more maybe useful things, going into, things that matter, that'll make a real difference to people's lives? Or is that image of the city such a big thing that it does matter and it makes a real difference to people's lives? So it's not just the football we're doing lots of look into the culture, a lot of the restaurant scene, the gig scene, just a real positive place, to be honest. And just getting to the crux of stuff that people are talking about. And we're trying to do that on the Newcastle scene. Of course, since I've stepped over to being editor, I've employed Jordan Cronin. Of course, how do I follow Jordan? Never mind that performance from Liam Gallagher in the middle here. How do I follow Jordan Cronin, who was on your show last night? Is his Loaded Mag debut. Everybody honestly can't urge you, check it out. He was really excited to be coming on the show, and I'm sure he'll be back on again as well. He's the Newcastle United writer on Newcastle. We'll give him a follow on Twitter if you can as well. But yeah, no, it's a really exciting project. I'm dead excited to have Jordan on board as well. He's a lad that I've known for a couple of years now. We've become good friends outside of work as well. And I was really keen to bring him on board as my replacement. So yeah, he's a lad. He's a real lad who's sort of getting right stuck into the Newcastle scene, and he's really impressed me with the way he's gone about his business so far. Only a couple of months or a month or so into the job, but he's the first guy to ask questions in the press conference. He's a young lad, but he's getting right stuck in, and it's been a really positive move. You haven't caught the end of me yet. I will still be doing lots of little bits of Newcastle United writing here and there, and I think I'll be doing even more in the new year. Maybe just dipping in and out with some strongish opinions, which I'm sure I'll share a few tonight if I get asked any controversial questions about refereeing or anything along those lines. But yeah, really, really, really good to be on. And anybody out there, just give us a follow on the social channels. We're on every social channel you can find out there. We're on TikTok even. We're on Instagram. We're on all of your social channels, Twitter, dedicated Newcastle United Facebook page. We've got everything. So yeah, give it a follow if you want to not just be told who's injured. You want to be told what impact that has on the team. Not just who Newcastle United being linked with, but we will have plenty of exclusives, as always had on the Shields Gazette as well. If you want to find out what that really matters, what that means to Newcastle United's team, and how that affects transfer budgets, how that affects the dynamics of the team behind the scenes. If you want to know the story behind the story, get following Newcastle World.
I think that's absolutely spot on. And to be fair, I've been reading a few bits that have been coming on Newcastle World. I think that takes us nicely into the next point. So we'll get straight into Newcastle United talk. And I read something that you tweeted out today with regards to Dan Ashworth and obviously the link of him potentially being or coming in as the sort of technical director or director of football, whichever role title that he's potentially given, if he's given the role. But he's been allowed permission from Brighton to come and speak to Newcastle United. I think there's a lot of fans that don't know a lot about him. In the Newcastle sort of social media world, there's a lot of fans that do know a little bit about him and are really excited about the potential of him coming in. What are your thoughts around Dan Ashworth? Do you think it's close? Do you think he would be a good sort of acquisition if we were to get that deal done?
Massive. I think it would be a really positive step. You only have to take a little bit of a look into his history and his development over the last 10 years. Obviously, he was at West Brom, did some good work there. Went to England, and that's where it really starts to get interesting. He was part of this England DNA project, which was to start getting to see England teams succeed at the highest level, to see pathways from the youth team all the way up to the first team. And I think there is a very clear pathway. Look, a lot of people out there won't necessarily agree with the coaching pathway. A lot of people might still be sitting here now thinking, should Gareth Southgate be at the top of the tree? But he went through that pathway. He went to 21s. You had others below the senior team have done the same. And that was all part of this England DNA, which Ashworth was a major part of forming and implementing. Of course, he's then gone on to Brighton as well, which under Tony Bloom is a really, really positive project. I think a lot of people look at Newcastle United and there is a real feeling among fan base. I'm not going to get critical because I'll never be critical of Newcastle United fans, but there's a lot of people, even with this January transfer around the corner, want to run before we can walk. And it's baby steps at the moment. It's not even walking time. It's the plodding around, feeling for the couch and things like that. That's what we're at a stage we're at in our development. We really are like toddlers. We need to catch up with the likes of Leicester. We need to catch up with the likes of Brighton. Brighton with an amazing infrastructure. Leicester with an amazing infrastructure. We need to catch those teams before we even think about catching the teams at the very top. And I know we've got all of the embarrassment of riches that could be unlocked by staying in the Premier League, could be unlocked by really, really keeping the Saudis interested, which they are. My understanding is that they are interested. They're really pushing a lot of dynamics behind the scenes here. But Ashworth himself would be a really positive step because you've got somebody who can grow and build a football club the way that it needs built. Newcastle United's been a shell for far too long. There's been a chronic underinvestment in the football club for a number of years. I mean, we're going back. You would have to go back to probably even slightly before Ashley's time with regards dynamics of when things have been developed properly, when training grounds were done and when the stadium last had a proper lick of paint. You need to get all that right before you start bringing high-class players in because they expect a certain level. They expect a certain level in their workplace, in the training ground, the recovery. You can get all the coaches in the world, but you need to have the bare minimum there is that they can go to a football club, for example, Brentford have just come up. They can go to a football club in the Championship and probably get a better standard of training facilities and day-to-day working facilities than what you get at Newcastle United. And that might be really hard for people to take, but it is. Just think about your own workplace, the places you guys go to work and everybody else out there. If it's a complete dump that you're going to every single day, but you're a player who's come from, let's just keep those two as the examples. You've come from Brighton or you've come from Leicester. Like seriously, Leicester, amazing place. Yeah. I was thinking about this even before we had the takeover. I remember seeing a video, I think it was last January, of I think it was a funny game of cricket that was going on the training ground. And I think it was like Jose Perez might have even tweeted it. And he was sort of bamboozled by Hamza Chowdhury. I think they'd been batting at the time. And I was looking at Hamza Chowdhury in that training ground thinking, God, mate, you dodged a bullet. Like you really have dodged a bullet here. You would not have known what you'd be walking into if that deal had just tipped over the line and he'd come to Newcastle United. Now, of course, we're talking about a different level of footballer now, but the same rule applies that they need to build from the bottom up, and Dan Ashworth will give them that. Dan Ashworth will give them that real professionalism, the building blocks in place that can make Newcastle United a better football club, and that's what they need to do on a number of levels. And it's something that I've championed for quite some time on Steve Ray's show, on other shows, on columns that I've written as well. Is that Newcastle United need to. The one thing they needed to do, the new owners, Amanda and Mirdad in particular, was almost get some firefighters in, get people in who can do jobs now that don't necessarily have to be long-term. They needed people who are going to do the day-to-day stuff. There's too much micromanagement for too few people, really. There's a lot of small things are being done by the owners that shouldn't really have to be getting dealt with on a day-to-day basis. They need to get those layers of management in, which have never existed under Mike Ashley, or may have done for the first few months. But you need that delegation of jobs throughout the process. So for me, the director of football or sporting director, I'm not sure which one it would be that Dan Ashworth would take, but that one is almost a little bit down the line that I wasn't necessarily hugely worried about. Yeah. I like the idea that they've brought a short-term fix in and brought someone in to do their transfer dealings in January. A lot of people are critical of his past career, but I think it's a really positive move. You need somebody in there who can do this job. It isn't a job for Amanda. It isn't a job for Mirdad. It isn't a job for anybody else on the board. It should be a job for somebody who can come in with this kind of experience. And getting somebody in, look, Michael Emenalo didn't want to get involved in any of that, and that's absolutely fine. I think Newcastle United need people who want to be involved, and I think that's one thing that was said to me from within the club at the time of the Emery stuff was that, there was a bit of an attitude in the kind of hours after that they found out that he'd sort of backtracked on what he'd said he was going to do and he was happy to come, that they were like two fingers up to him saying, look, if you don't want to get on the train now, you'll never get on. So yeah, they get on now when you've got a chance, or it'll pass you by, mate. And that was genuinely the feeling. And I think there's that they're not messing around here. And I think there'll be the same feeling with Emenalo. Look, mate, if you don't want to come on this train, it'll pass you by. See you later. And I think I don't mind that attitude. I actually quite like it, to be honest. But what they need to do is get firefighters in, and they've started to do that. The longer term, someone like an Ashrath would really work. There's other people that they've spoken to, and there's other people they're speaking to. I think they're going about this in a business-like manner. They're going about it in a non-football-like manner. They're almost dealing with it like it was a boardroom appointment at one of their own businesses. And again, I quite like that. I think it's a more joined-up way of dealing with things rather than the emotions that sometimes come into football decisions from owners. There's a lot of emotion gets involved, and often when you're dealing with money and you're dealing with businesses, emotion can be the worst thing possible to come in because it clouds proper judgment. And I think that they are doing things the right way. Have they made mistakes? Have they got everything right? They probably haven't got everything right, but nobody ever does. And I think if you can judge so far, and I'm saying so far because you might get us on at the end of January and it could have been the worst window possible. They might say nobody. And then you've got a fair case to say, look, are these guys doing a good job? Do they know what they're doing? And I think that would have repercussions. I think it would have repercussions if Newcastle United got relegated. And I don't just mean within the fan base. I think that would be within the majority shareholders. I think the majority shareholders would have questions to ask of the people that they've trusted to run the football club were things to go south towards the end of the season, considering that they'd been given a remit to keep the football club up and they'd be given the reins in October. That is enough time to keep a football club up, no matter what the circumstances. It definitely is. And I think the same would apply. Again, I'm going off on a tangent here, lads. Tell us to shut up if you've got questions. But the same for me would apply. And I rate Eddie Howe.
Really high on Ben Jacobs. Bloody hell.
I'm making sense, mate. Calm down. I know I love Ben. I'm just joking, man. No, I think the same would apply to Eddie Howe. I think when he's given a job in November, that is more than enough time for a manager to keep a team in the division. And I really like Eddie Howe. I think he's put every step right so far. But if they don't stay up in May, there's got to be serious questions asked about him. Is he the man to take the club forward? And that might be controversial to say, but I think it's only fair. We're not talking about somebody coming in, as I've mentioned before, as a firefighter. We're not talking about a Benitez with 9 games. We're not talking about a Shearer with 8 games or however many it was at the time. Yeah. We're talking about a bloke who's got the best part of however many it was, 28 games maybe to keep the club in the division. He needs to keep them up. And I think he knows that as well. You see this, he comes across as cool and calm, but I think there is pressure there. I think he feels that he's waited his time to get a job and an opportunity, and he's got this one, and it is perfect for him. But he's got to get over this first hurdle, and the first hurdle might be the biggest hurdle he faces at Newcastle United, because the stepping up to the levels after that might be easier than keeping the team in the division this year. But I think if he does do that, and look, they've got a fair wind with them. Let's not mess around here. They are only 3 points off now. It may be more by the time mid-January comes around, but they're 3 points off. They've won 1 game, and it's Christmas. Newcastle United's never been in the bottom 3 in the Premier League at Christmas, ever. Not once since they've been in the Premier League, and they are now. That doesn't read well. It doesn't read well, but he's still got enough there. There is still enough time to turn this around. It's only going to take a run and go and win 3 games on the bounce. And yes, that sounds amazing at the moment, but you win 3 games on the bounce, you will be out the bottom 3, even mid-January. Even if the gap goes to 6 points by then, they'll be out of the bottom 3. So I think that there is a huge amount of pressure on this season, but I think there's a fair wind with them. I do think they can do it this year. And I think, like I say, off the field, I think everything that I've heard and seen, they're doing things the right way. I think there just needs to be a level of patience. And as I said before, walking before we can run, because we're still just toddling around at the moment. And we're at the very, very start of a what could potentially become a very fruitful journey. Like, there's a lot of people fought for this deal. And don't forget where we were, because, wherever we go, don't forget where we were. That feeling, like, it was really horrible. Like, seriously, not just being a journalist. I'm a fan. I had a season ticket for 10 years before I was a journalist, sat in the Gallagher. Was there through all of the Robson stuff with the Champions League. Was there all the way through it, season ticket holder. And this was incredible. This pain. I grew up not really ever seeing Newcastle United, at least maybe one season here or there, not in Europe. Not trying to do something. The FA Cup runs, this, that, and the other. We always had something, and you always had hope. God, that man, I'm not even going to mention his name. He literally, he wrung everything dry out of us as a fan base. So we should never forget where we were, and I would never swap where we are now in the worst position with the worst team we've ever had in the Premier League. I would never swap this for having him back.
Yeah.
Johnny, I think there's things to remember. Like I seen something on Twitter today. Somebody asked the question and said, what was your highlight of 2021? And someone just put a picture up of Keith Downey announcing the takeover, and I went, "Aye, that's it." Like that's it. That's 2021 for me. I had a fairly bad start to the year, but like that was my highlight.
That 24 hours was amazing.
Yeah, that was a mad 24 hours. But I think the thing about the football, and like we said this on Loaded Mag a couple of weeks back, Liam, and Pete's kind of said the same thing. I'm actually quite relaxed about the whole thing. I'm quite relaxed where we are. I don't want to go down, but if we do, we do, and maybe that might help the rebuild. I think I agree with you with the Eddie Howe piece. I don't think the owners in particular, PIF will kind of suffer fools gladly. And I know that may sound quite harsh, but I think they'll want things to happen and happen accordingly. That they do get their, driving in on the white horse moment. But I think for the football, every team at some point this season, regardless, will go on a dipper form and a bad run. And we just happen to be in a bit of an extended one, but we will go on a run at some point and pick up some wins. So I'm quite relaxed, really.
You look at the teams above us, Mart. Oh, sorry, Rich. I was just going to say, you look at the teams above us, and you're talking, 5 or 6 teams where, you've got your likes of Watford.
Exactly. But that's what we're saying. The league table is actually quite deceiving.
It is.
It doesn't represent where we really are. No. Points-wise.
I think January's pivotal, like regards to everything. I think if you look up to when we play Everton the second time round back at St James's, I think if we've had a bad run there, if we have a bad run by then, I think the pressure's going to really, really hot up on Eddie Howe stuff. Because by then, he's going to have the players and he wants. You've played a lot of teams around you as well that you should be getting points off. And if we're still down here, I think we possibly could be down by then. So January's pivotal.
Yeah. Liam,
sorry, go on, Daz.
So just a question for Liam. You mentioned about the owners and bringing the manager. That look, when we're recruiting the manager and maybe the sporting director of football. Do you think that if they don't get on the train now, forget it. You're never getting on the train again. Do you think they'll have the same kind of attitude towards players? Let's say they agree a fee with a club, and the player is in two minds, and they might think, "Oh, maybe I'll wait till the summer, or I'll wait till whenever." Do you think that they'll have the same kind of attitude? Get on now, or forget it. We'll go for someone else.
Yeah, I think there could be a little bit of that, but I think they're going to have to be. I think they're going to have to be agile. They're going to have to move quite quickly in the window. And I think the one difference with January and the summer is that things can move very, very quickly. And I mean, you can have a player who's available on the 1st who will be absolutely crucial to a team by the 15th. Like it can make things can happen. Players become available that you don't expect. Clubs suddenly change their mind on players. I think there's players suddenly decide, no, actually, I don't want to move in this point. I'll wait till the summer once we're out of contract. So they're going to have a plan A, plan B, C, D, E, F. They're going to have to make sure that they're ready with these things. And that's why they needed that football executive in to make sure that these decisions can be taken. Because that's too much falling on the shoulders of Amanda, Mirdad and others. It's too much. They needed somebody in who knows that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think they're going to have to make sure that they're well prepared. Look, it's my understanding that they've got deals. They've got deals that are almost there. I think so. I think when the January window opens, I think it'll be a hard push to get anybody in by Southampton. I think that's almost impossible. I'm not even check the dates on it really. But what I would say is that I think they can probably get people in by that FA Cup weekend. I think they're probably going to have to at least get one in, and I would say 2 by midway through the window. I think if you've done that, then I think that'd be fairly positive. But anything less than that, and I think I think pressure will start to build within the fan base. I think if you don't start seeing results, I would urge people to be caught. I urge people to just have a bit of patience. But I think I could imagine some people getting a bit jittery if there isn't anybody in by the time that is it Watford that I think we play on that second weekend of the window. I think if Newcastle haven't got a couple of fresh faces by then, it might be a funny-ish atmosphere.
And you know what? I want to touch on the transfers, but I know I had a question for Richie, but I think Richie has something as well.
Yeah, it was just regards to you say about Dan Ashworth, the fact that I just want to get your quick views on with the fact that they've actually asked Brighton permission to speak to him. Would you think that actually means they're going to offer him the position? Because obviously it could cause a lot of unrest at Brighton if Newcastle weren't to offer the position to Ashworth.
It's a really good question, actually. I think they've went about this in a professional manner, and I'll not be critical of them at all, but I do think they're speaking to a number of people. I don't think it's necessarily just one. But I think now they've gone for Ashworth. I think that's probably the final straw. I think they've gone all in for Ashworth now. Whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. It's going to entirely be up to him, really. Whether he wants to leave the comfort zone that he's in at the moment, where he's got a really good job. He's involved in other things in and around the South Coast. Will he leave? It's a big job and it's a big challenge, but he's got to think of what he can do. Are you the type of person who wants to just float along and not challenge themselves, or do you want to walk into Newcastle United, which is a potential Premier League Goliath, huge football club in the Premier League, and you get the chance to put the foundations in to put that club on a way? It's a huge, huge job. It really is. I'm the type of person, I might be biased because I'm a Newcastle fan, but it could be any club. If you get the chance to really shape something in your mould and the way you want to do it, I think that's a great opportunity, rather than stepping into a football club that maybe has a lot of stuff already and you just become part of the furniture. You become an architect of that football club. And I think that's a great opportunity. It's why Rafa Benitez wanted the job so much. He wanted to be the architect of the future of Newcastle United. Of course, he dived in at Everton, and that's the issue that he's had. He's had his own problems there as well.
I think I agree with you on that regard. Can you imagine putting Newcastle with the England DNA background, but with potentially some of the world's best players, not just English talent? I think that's something that would excite anyone to do with Newcastle United.
Yeah, very much so. I think it'd be absolutely. Look, it's a great job for anybody. You've got to have that vision. You've got to have that mindset. And some won't have that vision. Some won't fancy it. The soundings out of managers at the very initial process, your Contes and others, they obviously didn't fancy the idea. They'd earned their stripes. They've earned the opportunity to walk into ready-made football clubs with all that infrastructure there. But I doubt people like that and think why you wouldn't want to shape something from the very off in your image. I think that's just, for me, that's what I've got in Newcastle world. Talking on a very small level is, do you want to walk into a place that's already got a lot of the infrastructure, or do you want to shape it in your own mold? Do you want to build your own teams? Do you want to build your own infrastructure? Everything. I get the chance to do that, and it's exciting. I don't know why anybody wouldn't be excited by that kind of challenge.
And I think just to round off with the Dan Ashworth talk, I think it tells you, I think you already mentioned it as well, the kind of direction we're going in, because me and Richard have known, and we've talked about it on many shows in the build-up after the takeover about the type of director of football or technical director that we could have gone for. We talked about the Luis Campos, we talked about Ralph Rangnick, who's at Man United at the moment, and there's been a number of others. Emanalo's another one as well, and they're all sort of really high profile, top end type of directors of football, sporting directors. But what I think it tells us is the type of DNA, should we say, that they're.
Oh. Peter's frozen.
Is he going to come back?
He's going to come back. I think. You're back, Pete.
He's back.
I don't know what you missed, but yeah, I think it tells us about the type of DNA that I think they're looking to build at Newcastle, in my opinion.
Yeah, very much so. I think it'd be a fantastic move. Look, we're umming and ahhing about, I like him, I don't like him for a director of football, sporting director. We've literally had Lee Charnley doing my transfers for years.
Like a few weeks back, we had
a massive improvement.
Class. Okay, so you've touched on it already, Liam, and we'll get into it. We've already said how big January is going to be. It's going to define our season. It's as simple as that. We've been linked with probably 1,000 players in the last 9 weeks. It's crazy how many players we've linked with. Some are realistic, some are just wild, some are off the cuff out there. Very, very different type of signings that we wouldn't have maybe expected us to be linked with. The question I've got for you is realistically, in your opinion, how many do you think we're going to sign? And thinking about positions, and are there any names out there that you think are solid links? Obviously, if you can share.
I think the caliber. Do you know what? It's been a really, in the build up of this window. There's been a lot of noise, and I know you've seen a lot of that translate into newspaper articles and people, but not a lot of this is the made up type stuff. There is a lot of noise around Newcastle United now. And it is really getting quite difficult to work out what the correct noise is and what a lot of the other stuff is. There isn't normally this much noise around Newcastle United. There isn't normally these amount of people wanting moves, agendas, wanting new contracts, agents talking, agents linking Newcastle trying to get other clubs to come in. There's so much noise. It's quite incredible. But there are the ones that I would say that for me are more likely to happen than not. And again, look, as I said, things can change quite quickly. I'm not going to nail me colours to the mast and say these will absolutely happen. But Kieran Trippier, as everyone's talked about, it's a name that was mentioned to me back in November, and it's a one that is never gone away. It's one that was said to me that I've had somebody say to me off the record that it's done. I've had somebody say, I don't think it's done. I don't think it's done. That's not me saying it is, but I've had a contact come to me and say it's done. I don't think it's that far along because I've had a few other people say otherwise. But I think it's one that could, I think is more likely than not to get done. There are others. I think one that probably I think will pass Newcastle United by in the January window is Tarkowski. I don't think they'll get that deal done. I think that's a really difficult deal to do in a January when you're fighting a relegation battle with Burnley. I think it's a player that is really highly rated at the football club, but I think Newcastle, I just don't think Burnley would sell to Newcastle United at this stage in the season. I think that still could happen in the summer. But what I would say on that one is if he becomes a free agent in the summer, he may well get other offers from clubs up on shorter term. Maybe somebody come in and fill a gap in a squad, say a top club in the Premier League already ready-made. So I think that's probably one that will pass Newcastle United by. But Trippier is the one that I've really heard is one. I've heard lots and lots of names mentioned. I mentioned Nicolas Sula. I think that's agent talk. I do get the feeling that's agent talk. But again, it's another one that was said to me by a similar contact was saying, look, that one will get done in January. I don't know if it will. Like I say, it's really difficult to work out what the real noise is and what the agendas are. But we're not used to this. It's been a long time since, and obviously it's well before my time as a journalist. There probably hasn't been these kind of links. This is the kind of stuff going back to the early 2000s when Newcastle United were linked with anybody and everybody. There's been nothing like this under Mike Ashley. Maybe the first couple of years, when things looked as though, or the first year when things looked as though they might continue as they had been, just with a richer owner. But there's been nothing really like that. I'm trying to wrap my brains now and think of other things I've heard. One I've heard, which from my own opinion I cast doubt on, not from the information that I've got, but Harry Winks seems to be quite high up on the agenda. I'm not a massive Harry Winks fan, I'll be absolutely honest. And please just delete this part of the YouTube if he signs in January. So just delete that bit if it comes to it. But
Liam Kennedy hates you.
What we'll do, we'll delete it just as you're about to publish your Harry Winks exclusive on his site with Newcastle United with the holding the shirt. We'll delete it at that point.
I'll do a little when we come off here. I'll do a little audio where it says Harry Winks, best player I've seen. Honestly, incredible guy.
That's why you employ Jordan, so he can go to the interview for you. That's why.
That's it, yeah. So no, that's another one, Harry Winks. That the reason why personally I doubt it, I just don't see Daniel Levy doing deals with Newcastle United, even if it suits him financially. I just find the whole notion quite bizarre. I don't imagine he would do deals. But of course, there's the links to Joe Rodon. There's links to others at Tottenham. But Winks, Trippier, Sula are the ones that I had pretty solid information on. What's the guy at PSG? Centre half.
Abdullah Diallo. That's him there.
Yeah. He was another one that had been mentioned to me that was on the radar, but it's another one that, again, this is a personal thing, but I think he's about to go away to AFCON. I think, like, if he goes there, then is that a signing that really makes sense? My understanding is being offered to Newcastle United, but I believe he's been offered to a number of Premier League football clubs also. I don't think they're alone in that. I think the big problem is Newcastle United need players who can come in now and make a big impact immediately. They don't want to be. I mean, I think it's maybe Senegal. I think he plays for.
I'm not sure.
I think it's Senegal, and I'm sure they got to the final of the AFCON last time round. If they get to the final this time round, then you're talking about sort of mid-February. By the time he gets to a training ground on Tyneside, it could be all over by then. I think they need players to hit the ground running and hit the ground running early. They need a window where they're going to go out and sign. In my opinion, and this, sorry if I spoil one of your later questions, but in my absolute opinion, I think they need to go out and sign a bare minimum, even in a window which would just get them by, would be 4 players. I think that's a minimum. They need a centre half, 1 at least. They need at least a fullback, there's 2, another midfielder, and they need a forward who's going to take the burden off Callum Wilson at times, or even come in to really challenge him and push him on. They need 4. Beyond that, I would start saying I think it's anywhere between 4 and 7. I think if you then go for other players, you need another centre half because you need 2 really. I would say you need another fullback as well, so you need another one. I would argue, and might be controversial.
Higher.
I think Martin Dubravka is tremendous, and I think he's been a fantastic servant at the football club. I don't want him to leave either. Does he suit this style of play? I think he's a bag of nerves with the ball at his feet at the minute. I genuinely do. I think he looks nervier than I've ever noticed to see him. I don't. Martin Dubravka could be great on the ball, and I could be doing him a total disservice, but he hasn't shown that in the last few games.
No,
Liam, do you think that's not because we touched on it the other day when we did our review of the game against Man City? Do you not think that's possibly because of he's not got any confidence in these centre halves in front of him, his defence in front of him? That's possibly the nerves rubbing off on him.
Yeah, possibly. I look back to the last game, and I'm just using this as reference, Man City. The reason why I think he looked a bag of nerves, before he had that mix-up with Kieran Clark, he played a ball to Jamal Lascelles on their own touchline.
Yeah.
And it was a pass. It was like, why are you doing that for a first? Play the percentages. I know you're trying to play a passing football, but he passed it straight out for a corner kick. And I thought, that's not a lad. Like, would you have seen Edison do the same to you then? Look, Edison came and flapped at every cross going, and Dubravka probably would have claimed them. But he never missed a pass, and he was playing harder in tighter spots than Dubravka. So what I would say is Eddie Howe, I'm led to believe, does want a goalkeeper in the long term who is a good footballer. And that's not me saying Martin Dubravka isn't a good footballer. Look, if Martin Dubravka plays every game between now and the end of the season with a better defence in front of him, playing the same style of play, Newcastle United will be absolutely fine. He's not a problem. But what I'm saying is, if you roll it further than the bare minimum that they need to sign, this maybe even go to a summer, you would say that maybe he's going to look at a goalkeeper. And I would say beyond that, they probably need 2 centre midfielders. I think John Joe Shelby's been excellent, by the way, and I'm probably been one of his biggest critics in the media.
Agree.
But realistically, is he somebody that I would build a team around next season if we're moving forward in the Premier League? I wouldn't know. I'd probably look to get a replacement in, because I think in the position that he plays, you look at similar players who play similar positions. Kante's, Kovacic, these type of players at Chelsea, they can, and they're a level above, but they can do everything. They do every job in the book. John Joe Shelby's maybe does 7 of 10 jobs, and he does them reasonably well, but he's lacking in certain other areas, mobility being one of them. So I think you'd look to upgrade in that position as well. I don't really think you would pick any other central midfielders at the football club at present. I've fought the corner for Sean Longstaff for a long time, and I do think there's the tools for a good player there, but I think his time's coming. I think you're either going to make it, son, or you're not. And I think we're getting to the point now where it's time for him to step up if he's going to make it. He's never really found a position in this team, to be honest. He's played the Shelby role, and I think that's when he's performed best. watching him grow up as a kid in the youth teams, he was probably playing more further forward as an attacking midfielder and a 10. And he's a lad who can score goals with both feet, strikes the ball well from the edge of the box, can score. Hasn't really performed when he's had that opportunity in this team. There was a brief spell maybe I remember when he scored at Bournemouth, Eddie Howe's Bournemouth actually, in that lockdown. I think he might have scored in the cup as well around that time. And that was the number 10 position. He had a little run and then he dropped out again because he got injured. He's never really made a position his own. I think he'll probably pay for that. But beyond that, there isn't. Isaac Hayden, for me, again, this could prove critical for people out there. Not a Premier League midfielder, in my opinion. Not a Premier League midfielder. I cannot fault the lads. Effort, application, attitude, quality. Good player to have around, in and around the squad. Actually, not a bad utility player if he's in your 25-man. You come in and do half an hour if the right back goes off. You come in and do half an hour midfield or wherever. You can do that role, or you're playing the cup in those positions. Do you want Isaac Hayden starting? No. Rafa Benitez wanted to replace Isaac Hayden. You want to replace John Joe Shelby. You want to replace these players when we got promoted, but wasn't given the money to do so. So why are we now thinking that there's suddenly the answer to our problems 5 years down the line in the Premier League in a struggling team? They're not the answer. It's breaking that mentality, really. I think we look too much at these players because we've been starved of quality and success for so long that we almost make heroes of some of these players who genuinely aren't really up to it. There's a couple others in there that. Sorry, Peter.
Go for it.
And I think, and this is going to again, I haven't come on here to be a dick and be controversial, but I think
you can't be met. That's my job.
I think St. Maximin falls into that category a little bit as well.
Yeah. Started to.
He flatters to deceive a lot of the time, and because he has got moments of magic, he has. There's no doubt about it. He's suddenly lauded as an incredible footballer.
No.
Look, he flits in and out of games. His attitude isn't quite right in games. You see that. You see that as a regular. I mean, is that what we've come to as a fan base now, that he's our hero? This guy who turns up once every 8 or 9 games and wins a game. Is that what we've become now? Because I think we can be better than that. And I think he's a player for me that has to fit at Newcastle United. We don't have to fit for him. And I think the minute that he realises that, I think he'll be a better footballer for it.
He needs to change your attitude. And to be fair, we called that. The lads, you watched the shows back a couple of weeks ago on Loaded Mag, and I said, if he doesn't improve the attitude in the final third in the next quarter, he has to go in the summer, because he's a luxury we can't afford to carry in this team. We can't play a player. We need grafters.
Yeah. So he was played in a team which was chaos. It was utter chaos under Steve Bruce, and his moments of magic produced something out of nothing in a team that was absolutely chaotic with no organisation. He's now playing in an attacking unit that is more disciplined, has clear roles and positions, and he's getting in areas and making wrong decisions. It isn't that spontaneity that we had under Steve Bruce, where he was allowed to do whatever. He has to fit a role and isn't quite getting it. I mean, it could change. It could be a lad just going through a bad spell, and hopefully in a month's time, he's absolutely shut me up and proved us wrong. I would love to see it, nothing more. But there are question marks. I think there's been question marks throughout his 2.5 years, and that's why he's not playing for a Chelsea or playing for a Liverpool, because they wouldn't put up with that. And we've had players like that in Newcastle United before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad that Martin made that point. So we're going to say, obviously, I know Mark's has had a lot of opinions on ASM, and a lot of them are valid points. I mean, the only thing I'll raise to that about ASM going in the summer is who's going to sign him. Who's going to sign a player that cannot fit into a relegation side and play well? We're second from bottom right now. And he can't even fit into our system under Eddie Howe and play well. He hasn't played well since Eddie Howe came into the team. Who in the top end?
Who offloads the wages?
Who's going to pay the money? And look, we're now not a club that needs finances. We don't need the money. We don't need to sell him. So if someone's gonna buy him, they're gonna have to buy out not just him, but the other 5 years of his contract.
5 years, yeah, exactly.
And so I don't think that deal will be viable. I just like this summer just gone. He had a good end to the last season. Yeah. Nobody came in with the money, because I think the money that was bandied about was probably far too much for any of those teams to pay. And I think I honestly believe it will be the same again. But I think you raised a really good point about the likes of Hayden and Longstaff and one or two others. And I think it goes back to the point that, it's down to the ownership before, is that, the Isaac Haydens, for example, we're not meant to be here 5 years down the line when we signed them for $2 million. You could say the same for the likes of DeAndre Yedlin, who stayed a little bit longer, Kieran Clark, that's still here, one or two other players that are still at the club. We didn't sign those players to still be here 5 years down the line. Rafa Benitez certainly didn't. You have to churn over the squad every couple of years. Players need to drift in and drift out. We haven't done that. Dwight Gale's another perfect example, a guy that can't even get into a relegation squad right now and get even off the bench, let alone regular minutes. Like, we've kept these players for far too long, and that is the biggest issue. And that's the thing that we will start to see, not this season, but start to see in the seasons to come. And that will instantly make our performances and our team better, because we've not got players that have become stale. Kieran Clark's just not Premier League standard. I mentioned it on our reaction show for the game, and I said he should be playing at Nottingham Forest, with all due respect to Nottingham Forest or a Blackburn Rovers or a Middlesbrough, a team that are languishing around the 7th, 8th, 9th of the Championship. That's his ability. Isaac Hayden should be around the playoffs in the Championship. You're absolutely right. Matt Ritchie should be around the same area. They are not good enough to play in the Premier League anymore. And the problem is that we've kept these players too long. And we will eventually get rid of these players. And I believe some of them will leave in the January transfer window. But, it's a case of, we've just got to get through these next couple of games and into January, and hopefully, signings, whoever they are ready, made, and done for the first few days of the transfer window. Because, like we've all said it, the amount of games that we've got in January against teams that we should be picking points up against is going to define our season. From the Southampton game, or even you could even go back to the Everton game on the 30th, all the way to sort of mid-February, are teams that we should be picking points up against, and that can make the difference. And in that period of time, those teams in and around us have got tricky fixtures. So, that's where we can turn the tide, and where teams are 3-6 points ahead of us, we could be ahead of them come mid-February. So I think you made a really, really good point about that, 100%. But I think, Chris, you've got a question you want to ask.
Yeah, if you don't mind, mate. There's one player who's been mentioned, Liam, and no doubt you've heard his name numerous times, and he's one who he's probably the signing that we're all keeping a close eye on. And obviously, if we were to pull it off, it'd be amazing. And I just wondered what your opinion was on it, because he's kind of standing out from everyone else for me, and that's Dusan Vlahovic, who's the Fiorentina striker. I may have pronounced his name wrong there, by the way, because he seems like a really exciting prospect, and he feels to me, Liam, a bit like a summer signing. I think we'd be very fortunate to get him in January personally. But wouldn't it be great, if we were to get someone like him? And I just wondered, how you felt about the possibility of, us potentially bringing him in. So
it's the run before you can walk thing. There's been a lot of players sounded out, a lot of players by different representatives, some from different parts of the ownership group. Some are a lot more top-end ambitious, not realising that Newcastle United need to build those foundations first before they're at the very top end. And I don't know if there's been soundings put out to that player in particular, but it stinks to me of the top end, I'm trying to be careful, as you can tell me words here. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people talking, and there's not just the people from PCP. There's people from other parts of the consortium sounding out, having keen interest. People working on behalf of them. Some of them not even really on behalf of them, but some saying that they are. There's been a lot of noise going on around Newcastle United, because Newcastle United has become the circus. It's become the European football circus. And don't think this is going to change, by the way. If Newcastle United stay up, if you think this is mad now,
it's going to be
imagine what it's going to be like in May and June and July. Honestly, it's going to be great, because I love stuff like this.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a fan as well. Like when I see these names, and even if I haven't heard anything, I'm like, "Ooh, what about him? Let's have a look at him." And you do gets you excited, and it's nice to feel like that again. It's nice not to be linked with some like kid who's not getting a game at Peterborough, and all of a sudden he's going to be the third choice striker we're signing this summer or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's exciting to be linked with these names, but I'll fall back on the run before we can walk thing. So do I think it's likely? No, I don't.
Do you think, Liam, and sorry, this is the last one, do you think there is a possibility that the ownership will be looking to make at least one marquee signing? And I'm not saying of that ilk that I've just mentioned, but certainly one where everyone sits up and goes, bloody hell, he's done well getting him. And then, like you say, bringing in the other players who are really needed, you know, we can't run before we can walk kind of thing. So, I mean, for us, Kieran Trippier would be a marquee signing. Certainly would be for me. I'd be absolutely thrilled with Kieran Trippier, but it just makes me wonder, you know, the way Man City did it with Fabinho, you know, just that one player.
They got it wrong.
Go, wow. Yeah.
They did get it wrong. That was the mistakes that they made. I think there's been lessons learned by that. I don't think they're going to go down the Man City route, but I do think they would want, marquee signings. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to go along the Robinho type route at this stage. I think it'll take a little bit of time to get there. But like you say, I think it's all about perspective. I think Trippier for me is a real standout signing for Newcastle United in the January window. Look, even going out and signing players like, trying to think of names that maybe might be linked. Just go and sign in Premier League ready quality footballers at this level. You know, even like Ross Barkley's and stuff, like we've never signed players like that for years. I mean, Callum Wilson's probably the only one that you can think of that you'd look at and say, "Oh, I'll definitely take him." There's we haven't signed players like that for a long time. So I think there's got to be.
One's gone quiet though, hasn't it?
Or has
it? The Ross Barkley that was like odds on at one point, and I know we were linked with him in the summer, but
I think there's a possibility.
Recently.
No, I think there's a possibility he could end up at Newcastle United, but like I say. There's conflicting noises around Newcastle United. I think there's certain people within the ownership structure who maybe are learning themselves that you can't come in and just play championship manager with Newcastle United yet. I think those type of people will come into their own at some point down this line. But at the moment, it needs more than that. And it's a much more complex business than just plucking people and putting them in a football team. And I think that's where the checks and balances come in. There's certain people who run the football club who really understand that. And for now, we all understand that. We're not daft. But there are some people who would have Newcastle United saying Mo Salah tomorrow. And like, it's just crazy stuff. There is the idea that there will be a marquee signing with Middle Eastern links. There is that I have heard that mentioned. That rumour to me, well, it's more than a rumour, it goes back to May last year when everybody thought the deal was going through. There was talk that they would maybe come in to sign somebody, go for somebody like a Mo Salah or somebody like a Karim Benzema, who has maybe that Middle Eastern, North African link that they can use as a real marquee for a Middle Eastern country buying a football club. God, I've said that. I'll have the Premier League onto us. A Middle Eastern-based company buying a football club.
We'll definitely edit that one out.
And do you think is that pressure for like the marquee piece you were saying there? You know, there's certain people within the club, you know, thinking it's kind of championship manager, but it's not. It's the walk before you can run, Liam. Is that a Middle Eastern, you know, pressure, or is that you know, you probably can't say, but is that more local, you know?
Look, you're asking us straight questions there.
Yeah, I'm trying to ask you a straight question.
Well, it's not anybody within the club, is what I'll say, but it's advisors in and around. It's people with vested interests in the success of the football club. And I think you can probably join the dots on that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I won't be the lads to tell me.
Hey, nice link in there, Liam. Nice link in. I like that.
I like it.
And just one thing before I do my thing here. You mentioned Man City, and Martin, you should have jumped in. That was your chance. You could have gone, man for it. Okay, you know what it's time for, Liam. You know what it's time for. didn't realise it was that long of a song.
That was a big intro. That.
You did this with Jordan, right? Didn't you? You did throw Jordan under this bus.
Yes, well, we warned him today. But let me see. You know how this game goes, Dave. This is your third time playing this game. So say what you see. Here's the first one.
The good thing is, Daz actually sounds like Roy Walker. Oh, it's good, but it's not quite right.
Play along at home, everybody. This is the Christmas special.
Transfer window.
Yes, straight in. 1 point. I'm trying to make it a bit harder. Here we go. So here's the second one, Liam.
Oh, I like that one. Alan St. Maximin.
Yes. This one's for you, Martin.
Don't ask me. It's not my game.
Which rubbish? Oh no, witchcraft. Sorry.
Which rubbish? Close.
I was sat there thinking, Focus number 4. What?
Here's the fourth one. You're on 3 from 3 so far, Liam. They get a bit harder.
I don't know this one. Am I stupid?
No.
Oh, I've got it now. I'm thinking.
Yes.
I was thinking, who's Gary Hasselman?
And if you got that one, you'll get this one.
Yeah, him. Yeah, Richard Masters.
And that's it. That's the end of catchphrase. 5 from 5.
Oh.
Yeah. That's it. I'll never do it again. Well done, Liam. Well done.
Daz, man, you were totally wasted.
That was quality. Love it. Okay, so I don't know if you're aware, Liam. We had a special guest on Tuesday night. So we had a show with ex-Premier League referee Keith Hackett to talk about some of the pretty shit decisions that have gone against us recently in a number of games. And we just wanted to get your thoughts, really, about the situation with not just our decisions, but some of the decisions in football at the moment. So not sure if you managed to catch it, but Keith was really sort of calling out the standard of referees in England and some of the decisions that have been made and how poor they are, and actually comparing it to the standard of Premier League refereing, like in a sort of bygone era earlier on in the Premier League's history compared to now. What are your thoughts sort of on that at the moment with regards to referee standard?
I think it's an absolute disgrace. I think the refereeing has been a joke. I think VAR has made referees scared. I think referees are scared of making decisions. I don't think there's almost like a fear factor, and then they all club together. They must have these meetings before games saying, look, if I'm going down this route, then make sure you stick with us, even if I get it wrong. The amount of wrong decisions has been absolutely incredible. I mean, just thinking a week, is it daft enough? Look, there's so many people shout from the rooftop saying, you're a bunch of idiots, Newcastle fans. There's no conspiracy against you. Honestly, the things that have happened in Newcastle United in the last week, would they really be wrong to think there might be some refereeing conspiracy? It's not like people didn't try to get a football club taken over, and it's not like people didn't suddenly try to stop a football club being successful with regards to all of this connected sponsorship rubbish that's going on at the moment. All right, no, we're not daft here up in the northeast. We know what's going on, and look, I think it's not out of all realms of possibility that people can say that there is some kind of top 6 bias with Premier League. With Premier League referees, I don't necessarily think it's. I don't personally. I'm not a massive conspiracy theorist. There was an absolute conspiracy going on for Newcastle not to be taken over. I was shouting that from the rooftops from the very start of this takeover process because I'd seen things that other people out there hadn't seen, and I stuck by those guns throughout the process. Look, I'm not now suggesting that there's definitely a conspiracy going on, but I do think there's a top 6 bias. I think there's a bias in terms of decisions. I think if Ryan Fraser's tackle at Liverpool happens at the other end, and this is probably the most contentious of all of the decisions that's gone on in the week. I think if that happens at the other end, I think there's probably going to be a call to say he's actually played the man to get to the ball. He's had to go through the man. I think there would be a call. I think that's a penalty to Liverpool. I'm in no doubt there. And that's probably the least bad decision, because I can also make a massive case to say he's got the ball and it's a bloody good tackle. Well, the rest of them, the Maddison dive, Jesus, like, what is going on? Why are you not looking at that again? And if you did, seriously, you're not fit to be involved in refereeing if you think that's a correct call. Again, going back to the other decisions that have gone, look, let's watch this again. The lad, I mean, does Lascelles hang a leg a little bit? He does, but he's jumping before he's even got close to Lascelles. There's no way you can give that. That's a yellow card in anybody's book. The other decisions we've seen, ones recently, Edison, look, it was Ryan Fraser made a great point, and what he said was, I agreed with some of it, not the rest. The bit I didn't agree with was he said, what's the point in VAR? I think VAR is a great thing. I think it can make a lot more correct decisions, but the implementation of it is a joke. And it's actually made referees scared to make proper decisions. They're so scared of being overturned. Why are you so scared? Clearly, you want the correct decision. You want the correct decision. I like it. You want the correct decision in a game. If I'm a referee, I would rather be corrected if I've made a wrong decision. I'm not scared of that. Edison cleans him out there. If that happens where Ryan Fraser pushes a defender, or a defender pushes Ryan Fraser off the ball, he gives a penalty. Why is the referee different? And it sounds like they had a look at that one. They actually looked at that decision and went with the on-field referee's call. God, every man and his dog can see that's a shocker. And look, it might have still ended up 4-1, but it gives Newcastle United a chance in the game. I'll go back to the Maddison decision. The Maddison decision, I was at Leicester. A lot of you guys might have been there. A lot of people watching this might have been there. That was tight, that game. And there's a lot of people really keen to rewrite history dead easily. They rewrite history because of their emotions after a game. And that's not a criticism. It's just a fact. A lot of people said we were terrible at Leicester. We did get beat 4-0. There was nothing in that game for 40 minutes. Absolutely nothing. Newcastle United were the better team for 15. OK didn't create a lot. Had the one where Wilson fizzed one past the post. Had the one where Shaw got one blocked from a corner. But we're the better team. We'll press them high. We'll cause the centre-halves problems. We'll cause them mistakes. Then we dropped off 15 yards and we're poor for the next 15. And then it was a nothing game for that next 5 to 10 minutes. And then the decision changed everything. Even at 1-0, Newcastle United were the better team, had more of the ball. They had more possession in the second half than what Leicester did. That's a fact. They were a better team. They just got killed by the individual errors. And the momentum of the game was changed totally by that decision. They might have still got nothing. But these are key decisions. When you're living on the edge, which this Newcastle United team is, they're really on the edge. They need these decisions to go for them. When you have so many in a short space of time go against you, and I haven't even mentioned the worst one. I haven't even gone over Isaac Hayden. That was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Of course, as Chris knows, I was in the away end at Liverpool that day. Not far behind that. And I was just astounded how the referee was not called that. There was 2 Newcastle United players down on the floor. And look, let's not kid on. Do I think he was really that badly injured? I'll never know. He could have been playing kid on. He could have been trying to stop the game. That's not the rules. The rules are very clear. You stop the game when there's a head injury. And don't try and tell where you didn't see it. You did.
3 times he looked.
He kept looking at it, didn't he? He kept looking at it constantly. He can't say he didn't see it. And he was holding his head. It was just, honestly, it's criminal, the decisions that have gone against Newcastle United this week. But let's be honest about it as well. It ain't going to change. There's nothing about this going to change. And with VAR, it was meant to be a comfort blanket that referees could fall back on. It's almost become something that's smothering them in the English game. It's not happening anywhere else. It's not happening in Italy. It's not happening in Spain. It's not happening in Germany. It's not happening on the international level. It's actually making the game slightly better because you're getting more correct decisions in the game than you would have got before. The way it's been implemented in England, this is where I do agree with Ryan Fraser's point that what is the point in VAR? The way it's been implemented by the low standard of referees in this country, just rip it up and let's not have it, because we're actually, it was a better game without it, because they're actually not even making better decisions. They're making worse decisions with VAR than they were before, and that's not what it was meant to be for.
And I know that Richie's got some strong opinions on this as well to go with it. But we do have to say a quick goodbye to Mr. Hall and Mr. Avon, should we say, because he's got his rounds to do. He's a very busy man. But just wanted to say, obviously, won't see you now until sort of after Christmas. But Merry Christmas to you and your family, Chris.
Cheers, guys.
Have a good one, and take care.
Yeah, love you all very much. Nice one, Liam, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
See you,
Take care, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Right. So
now it's a proper show.
Look. Richie, look.
I also love the way we're pretending that this is that we won't see Chris tomorrow at the other show. But yeah, we'll play on. Yeah, carry on.
I'm just going to nip off for 2 seconds and clearly wash off. Just going to spoil all this. 2 seconds.
Yeah. No worries. But Richie, look, you've got some strong opinions on this, and you voiced quite a few of them when we had Keith on. I think from what Liam said, is absolutely spot on about the standard of refereeing and the poor decisions that we've kind of suffered. But you know what? I think Liam's made a really good point. Is that other leagues across Europe don't have this problem. Like they don't have this problem. But from your point of view, Richie, fire away.
Yeah, I think Keith summed up quite a lot of things. We're meant to have the best football league in the world, but we've got the worst standard of refereeing. I think that was one of the main things he said last night. He's, when you've got people like he said himself, you've got people like Mark Clattenburg, Graham Paul, Howard Webb, leaving before their retirement is due up, says there's something going on behind the scenes. And Mike Riley's been called out for years about this. And I think, you go back to some of the, the issues over the last week in particular. And I think what annoys me, not just me, but Newcastle fans in general, was the fact that all of the decisions seem to come at pivotal moments. That word again, at pivotal moments in games. The Leicester one just before half time when it was a nip and tuck game. And I think that completely changed the dynamics of the game. I think it sucked the life out of Newcastle just before half time, and they never really recovered in the second half. You look at the Liverpool game where there was 3 horrendous decisions, and in my opinion, and Keith pretty much backed us up the other night. He said it was one of the worst performances he'd seen. Mike Dean's had a howler. The fact that we're 1-0 up, had a fantastic game plan, and then a stupid decision when, as Liam's already mentioned, he's on the floor. Whether we know whether it's a genuine head injury or not, 9 times out of 10, we said this on last night on the show. 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of these head injuries where they'll get up within 2 minutes of the game being stopped and everything. But the thing is, though, Mike Dean doesn't know that at the time, and he should have stopped the game. Do we blame Liverpool for playing on? No, because the old schoolboy rule is play at the referee's whistle. You can't blame Liverpool on that one, but you've got to look at the blame firmly at Mike Dean on that one. You also then look at the Fraser one as well when we're 2-1 down. That's a huge decision, and Liam's right. That's at the other end. I think it's given. You look at the decision the night before with the Soufal one, where Soufal came in from the side, got the ball, he's trailing leg cleared, and the referee didn't give it, and VAR then turned around and said, well, he went through the man, it's a foul. Well, okay, whether people think that Trent Alexander-Arnold got the ball, personally, I don't really see much of a deviation from the ball when it goes past him. But what I would say is he goes through him to get to the ball if he was to get it. And the other issue that Mike Dean's got, if he was to, and VAR should have had to it, if that's a penalty, it's also a sending off because it's the last man standing. So that's another critical one at 2-1. That gets you back in the game against 10 men. And Liverpool weren't all that last week. And then, we still stay in the game. And then he makes these stupid run across Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's having a shot. The keeper can't see it. And to be fair, Keith Hackett said it himself. That was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. The common sense is for a referee is you would pull back out behind you, go away from Trent Alexander to more of the centre of the park so you can get a whole vision of the pitch in front of you. Or you go behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. Just to do that split second, Dubravka got his hand to it. How? I don't know. But who's to say that he couldn't have stopped that? That split second of being able to see it, could have positioned himself better to save it. So there was 3 horrendous decisions in that game, and that game could have went so different for Newcastle, especially when we're fighting for points. And then you go to the Man City one. Man City, I didn't think Man City were fantastic. Pep Guardiola said he didn't think they were the best on the day either. And that decision to not even look at VAR, and then to make it even worse, that when Craig Parsons looked at it, has agreed with it, and the reason that Mike Atkinson turned around and said to Sky Sports was that Cancelo came away with the ball. Okay, then, so does that make it an off-the-ball incident? Okay, so that, I tell you what, next time I'm playing football and I can punch one of the opposition, and it's off the ball, does that mean I don't get sent off because it's an off-the-ball incident? Or that doesn't matter anymore? So technically,
as long as your mate comes away with the ball, you're fine.
Exactly, that's all right. Well, I haven't got the ball off the ball to away. It's on the other end of the pitch, but you know what I mean? It must be all right now, Lee. Do you know what I mean? But I think even though, like, the other 2 factors that we touched on the show was Mike Dean actually getting appointed that game in the first place, living 9 miles away from Anfield. We all know he's a Tranmere fan, but his 2 sons are Liverpool season ticket holders. You know, even Keith said, you know, whether he's not a Liverpool fan or not, you shouldn't be. Someone living that close which shouldn't even be put in that situation, full stop. It should have been possibly like a Martin Atkinson, like we discussed originally when it was brought to our attention a few days before the Liverpool game. And then the other factor, Craig Pawson doesn't give that decision the other day for Man City, and now he's appointed the official for Man United on Monday. And he even said, that's just ludicrous. He's going to have an absolute pelter from Newcastle fans even before the match has kicked off. And that's in the key factors. It's just an absolute utter shambles. Some of the comments he came out about VAR, where he turned around and said, you know, are people just talking between, like we are now, while the game's playing on, they're having a bit of a cup of tea and having a bit of a banter while the game's going on, and going, oh, I missed that. I'm meant to look at something that's already like 2 minutes down the line. And he even turned around and said, is Mike Riley over his shoulder? Turned around and saying, no, don't give it, just let him play. So no, it stinks massively. And the fact that he praised people like Howard Webb, Mark Clattenburg and stuff like that, I think Mark Clattenburg would be the ideal candidate to come back in and shake up the PGMOL. I think, he was respected with all his referees that he was with. He's respected by all the current referees, and he'd be respected by the new crop that were coming through. I just think he'd be an ideal appointment. And to be fair, if the Premier League are paying 22 million a year, they ain't getting their money's worth. Full stop.
I think the interesting thing though that I took from the show the other night was, I wouldn't say Keith's hidden messages, but some of the things he was leading to, which was, one is there is a massive issue with the fitness of the current referees. As he said, back in the day, he had referees that could go box to box in 11 seconds. So part of the questioning he's got with the current batch of referees is they get match fit for this fitness test at the start of the season, but they're then not match fit for the actual season. So they can't keep up with the play, or they position themselves wrong. And I think the biggest piece for me, and I'd be interested to get Liam's opinion on this, is that the crux of the matter is with the VAR. Effectively, he said that the referees have got to, are walking on a tightrope, with the pole, but they've got this big, massive safety net. So if they make a mistake, it doesn't matter. It'll just be cleared up for them and brushed under the carpet and forgotten about. The second piece that he quite rightly put was that, people could be talking, people could be influencing, but that at the end of the day, 2 things need to happen. One is he would love to see the referees mic'd up like they are in American football and other things, that you can actually hear the decisions and some of the talk back. But more importantly, that when a mistake is made, a referee is held to accountability and comes out to fans, to players, to coaches, and goes, actually, hang on, I got that wrong. And the piece for the biggest issue for him is there is no accountability with the referees, with the PGMOL, or any of those functions within refereeing and Premier League. And I think all the time we have no accountability. the standard won't change. So I don't know what your thoughts are, Liam.
I think the accountability one's an interesting one because I would love to see an accountability. I think it would realistically, it would probably bring problems with it as well. I think it would probably turn a lot of people away from potentially doing it, knowing that accountability probably only happens when you've had a bad decision. It's very unlikely that you're going to have somebody come out and say, "Oh, can we speak to the referee today, please, because he was mint." You're never going to ever get that, are you? It's always going to be like, he's made the worst decision ever.
Sign my top.
Right, out you go, lad. Right, go and explain that to 20 journalists out there who are literally baying for your blood. I think it would bring problems, but I actually think it's fair. Look, a player makes a mistake, they are held accountable, a manager held accountable. It's a job at the end of the day. It's a job that they all do, and it's something that they're paid to do. It's a really respectful job. And I don't believe any of them are necessarily making... I don't think any of them are necessarily making bad decisions deliberately. I think it probably is more the fact that the standards just generally dropped. And I think this pressure of VAR has just blown minds within the referee because it's noticeably got worse since VAR came into the equation. It wasn't this bad a few years ago.
Do you think, one of the things that was mentioned by us and also people who were watching the show at the time, Liam, is going down a path similar to what like rugby union have got, like with miking up the refs and, like with when there's a try or a debated try and have the TMO and you can actually hear a conversation between them what's going on. Because I think that means you can actually hold them accountable to a degree because they're actually hitting that actually might make referees be a bit more switched on, as you said, because obviously they have dropped over the last year since VAR. So if their words are actually being recorded and picked up, that also makes them accountable there and then on the spot sort of thing. And another thing that was mentioned, and also Martin brought this up at the time, was stuff like in the NFL where, and I suppose it's a bit like in cricket as well, where you have a chance to have a review, like a manager's review or a challenge or something like that, where, there's all TV screens in the ground. A lot of the coach and staff have got, you can see a replay straight away on like a device that they've got in front of them, where they could turn around and see within the turn, can I challenge that now?
I love that. The drama of that would be incredible. Like getting that key points in the game. You're 1-0 up in a cup final, and there's even a half chance it could be a decision. Suddenly, there's a challenge comes in. There's a towel comes off from the side.
Eddie Howe's throwing towels into the centre circle.
Realistically, do I think that would work? I don't know. I think again, the idea of a challenge. It still comes down to the idea that who then makes the decision. And if you've still got bad people reviewing the decision, which is what's happening with VAR, then you're not going to come to the correct decision in the end. Interesting you talk about like the idea in rugby. Rugby union's one that, obviously rugby league's the one that was the trailblazer and went that way. Rugby union, I watch a bit more of. And often you find when you'll get a contentious try decision where every camera angle can't see if the ball was grounded or if there was a hand underneath or something like that. If there's any element of doubt, the referee tends to go with a no decision and they'll just say, look, I can't give that try. I can't give that for the reason. If there's an element of doubt, I think there probably should be a little bit more of that in football, that if there is an element of doubt having reviewed a decision, you have to just go with it and stay with what you had.
See, that's something to do with in the NFL, and Martin will back us up, where they'll turn around and they'll make an on-field decision.
They go with the on-field decision.
And then if they can't make anything clear about it, then they stay with the on-field decision.
I think the other thing... Sorry, Liam. I think the other thing as well is that there's a big chunk for me, and I said this the other night, with the referees. Like at the end of the day, and I get Keith's piece from the show the other night. The thing for me is football has changed from what it was to what it is now because it's gone from a sport to a business. And goals, drama, and all the other stuff that goes with the Premier League, it's good business. So why would you change it? That would be my view, But
it's an interesting point.
Doesn't help when you're at the wrong end of it, though.
No,
every week.
Yeah, you're right,
exactly.
and I think you're right. It is a business. My 2 pence on it is that I've been of the mindset for a long time that I think that that not just VAR but referee decisions are being manipulated to create entertainment in the Premier League, and I think it I'm not saying that it's true. I'm not saying that I haven't got any evidence to back that up. That's just my opinion. But if you look at, and we've already discussed it, the ease in which VAR is used in other countries, but yet it's all up in the air in England. Why is that? It's because England is the best league in the world, supposedly, and it brings in the most money, and it needs to create entertainment value. So those really poor, boring, drab 0-0 games then become talking points, regardless of the scoreline, because of controversial decisions. And this is where the refs probably feel that they don't need to justify their decisions anymore, because they can just give a decision and know that they're not good, that they're going to be protected and not being held to account for their decisions. And what it does, it creates entertainment for the broadcasters, for Sky, for BT and beyond. It's a talking point for the media. It drums that continual interest in the Premier League. And I've been, that's not just with Newcastle. That's with all of the games that I watch. You see those controversial decisions all the time, but what you don't see is what you saw from Newcastle United. Is it's game after game, it's big decisions that are affecting the flow of the game. We get that penalty, Callum Wilson scores that penalty, it's 2-1, the game changes. It just does. We weren't playing bad, as we've already said. You go back to the Leicester game, that penalty gets reviewed properly and it doesn't get given. We go into half time 0-0, it's a different game. You could go through all those decisions and say the same thing. If the Hayden thing gets stopped, they don't score. Who's to say that we don't go in at half-time 1-0 up? And the game is different. The way we approach the game is different. The way Liverpool approach the game is different. And it's just an absolute shower of shit, shall I say, with regards to some of these decisions that are being made. It's the way it is. But we're getting towards the end now. So, just before we finish, what I want
is Liam's got to sort the tree.
Yeah.
Or else it will be Christmas dinner with the Kennedys if we keep going on.
Let's just be on through, lads. Let's do it.
I tell you what, that's got a canny ring to it for a YouTube show, does. Dinner with the Kennedys. There's something in that now. We might come back to that.
Why not? I just want to get a quick prediction, really, from all of you with regards to the festive period. So we've obviously got Man U on Monday. Thursday we'll get Everton, and then after that we've got Southampton away. What do you think our points tally will be from those three games by the time that we finish playing Southampton on 2nd of January? So, Daz, do you want to start us off? What do you think? How many points do you think we'll get? How many wins, hopefully?
Okay. I said it's Liverpool and Man City. I wrote those off. And I said I think our turning point could be the Man United game, because I hate Man United. So I'm going to go 3 from 3. I'm going to go be crazy. A Christmas miracle, 3 wins. Never been done. 3 wins.
9 points. I would take that right
so
now.
Would I.
Obviously,
yeah. We all would.
And I can edit this if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, obviously, Daz is not one of the 3 wise men.
Rich, are you as positive?
Not quite as positive. I think one major thing, depending on the point, is whether Callum Wilson can keep away from getting that extra yellow card. That's huge.
When does it end? Does anyone know when that ends?
It's the 20th Premier League game. So we've played 18. So technically, as long as he doesn't get a yellow card in the next 2 games,
he's got to do Man U and Everton without getting yellow.
And to be fair, the one game we really need him that we is pivotal. As I once again have said, it's Southampton. Do you know what I mean? That's one of the teams in the round, so he needs to be there for that one. I'm gonna say 5. I don't think we'll lose a game. I think we'll win 1 and draw at least 2.
Okay, interesting. Mark, what are you thinking?
I normally get this all completely wrong, so it doesn't really matter. I think, unfortunately, Man U are still turn us over, so I think we lose that. But I think we beat Everton, and I think we get a draw off Southampton. So I'm going to go 4 points.
Okay, no, again, I take that. Interesting though, Man U had COVID issues.
Yeah, but I still think they've got enough to turn us over, Pete. I'm sorry, but I think they have enough to beat us in the current form we're in the run we're in.
Yeah. No, can't argue with that. Liam, what are you going for prediction-wise?
I think it's a really tough one to be drawn on the exact results, but I think as a set of fixtures, I think I can probably see a win, loss, and a draw. I think 4 points, and I think that would be a fairish return because a lot of people have talked about getting the really, really tough ones out of the way, but let's be absolutely honest about the run of games that we've got up. We've had some good results against Manchester United, but a pass score is a defeat at home against Manchester United. A pass score sometimes in a normal season at Everton's a defeat. And the same goes for Southampton as well. We haven't got a very good record over the last 20-odd years at Southampton, although we've had a couple of results in recent years. So that not to be the sort of harbinger of doom walking in here as the last prediction, but
remember it's Christmas theme.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
Yeah. Come on, Scrooge, spit it out, will
you? No, I think 4. I think we'll get 4. I couldn't be drawn on which way it'll go because I've no idea. I literally no idea. I can see Manchester United going anyway. I can spark my heart into action and feel the night game, St James's Park, the buzzing atmosphere, the Manchester United feel, everything about it. We'll get something that day. I can also see them turn up with a far, far superior set of players, far superior front line, and turn them over 2 or 3-0 quite easily. I could see we're going to Everton. And, putting in the kind of performance we've done a couple of times over recent years, getting a result down there. Even winning, because they're no great shakes. They're not a great side. But then there's the Rafa Benitez narrative. Then there's all of that goes on around it. And you get a funny feeling when you start thinking down those avenues. And they could easily get beat down there as well. And like I say with Southampton, it's a notoriously really difficult place to go for Newcastle United. They haven't had a lot of results down the years. Like I say, they've had a few in recent times. And I wasn't unimpressed by Southampton when they played Newcastle United up here. I thought they played us off the park for about 60, 70 minutes of that bizarre, it was 2-2, wasn't it, at St James's Park with the last-minute goals and the Lascelles sort of hammering Adam Armstrong into next week and them getting a penalty at the last moment. I think, I could see that going any which way. I think Newcastle United would be better prepared for that game. In my eyes, that's the most winnable of the 3 games. I think that's the one I think. Arguably, you'd want them the other way around, but I can feel the Manchester United one. I've got a feel for it, and I think it could, with a fair wind, it could go Newcastle United's way. Everton, I think, is a tough game, but I could see a draw. I think that's probably more likely, and I could see we're winning at Southampton if I had to pick the way it was going to go. But I think 4 points, and I think that would be a fair amount of points from that run of fixtures. If we did get 4, then we're going to a run of games, which is the real important season-defining one, which you guys hinted at earlier. When it's your Watfords, your Leeds, your Everton, your Aston Villa, when there's that run of fixtures where you're playing mid-table, genuine mid-table to lower mid-table teams and relegation-threatened teams in Watford, you've got to win. We're getting to the point of the season where you can't forgive a sending off for a Norwich point. You can't forgive a manager getting COVID, which are real mitigating circumstances in the run-up to games, for example, Brentford and then Norwich. I don't think Eddie Howe could have painted his first 2 home games going that way. It looked ideal on paper. It turned out to be the first 2 home games from hell, from really. But that we're going to start having to forget about excuses. Results are all that matter now. And I've kind of put myself in a mindset now whereby it doesn't matter what everybody else does, because I see Newcastle United have got to get to 35 points. Everyone talks about 40, everyone talks about 38, whatever it may be. They've got to get to 35. 35 in most seasons keeps you up. In most Premier League seasons over the last 10 years, and it gives you a good shout. I think they've got to get to 35, and however they do it, whether that's by losing against Man United, losing against Everton and Southampton, but winning the next 6, I don't care how they do it, they've just got to get there.
Yeah. No, I think it's a fair point. I'm going to go 5. I think we'll get a point against Man United. I watched their game against Norwich, and they were pretty much full strength. And the amount of chances they gifted Norwich, and Norwich didn't punish them. I think if they gifted the same chances on Monday, like you said, Liam, under the lights, Monday night football, late night kickoff, atmosphere absolutely buzzing because it's Man United. I think we can exploit them. I really do. And it'll just be a case of how solid we can be at the back, and that's the $1 million question, or the $1 billion question, shall I say? But I think we can get a point. at Everton, and I do think we'll beat Southampton. I really do. I think they are a beatable team at the moment. So they are my sort of predictions there. But look, we'll wrap it up now. Massive thanks for you to coming on the show. Really, really appreciate it, Liam, for taking the time to come on. Just before we finish, I think we're gonna. We can't go off for Christmas without promoting our sponsor. So
exactly, Pete.
That's
a shout out to Black and White Army, Bronwyn's brand. If she has anything left in stock on this Christmas Eve when everyone gets to see this back, but log on the website, give it a look, and yeah, she will be back in the new year with a new brand and a new range and a collection. That should be interesting, whatever it's going to be called. Also, just if you haven't subscribed already, there's a red button on the bottom right-hand corner saying subscribe. Hit that button. You need to be logged in to do it. Hit that button to subscribe. And also, there's another button underneath that says join. And if you haven't got a Christmas present for your loved one, what better than a Loaded Mag membership? $1.99 per month. They will, for the people you love and hate in your life, they will love this present. So yeah, hit that join button and you become a member, and then you get entered into our prize draw as well. And there's some ideas for you, Liam, as well. But that's it. We do have a few shows coming up. You will have all seen, as we're pretending that this is going out, and this was recorded on Christmas Eve, not on Wednesday, as it is. We will have met Jordan. And
it's like it's meant to be a Christmas show, and Daz is spoiling the magic. Like, what was the point of all the get-up and everything else? Pete's wearing a hat, and Daz just goes, actually, it's pre-recorded, lads. It's only Wednesday. What? Daz, man? Come on.
Because I try to give you a heads up, Martin, because you're going to come in dressed as Michael Air Jordan tomorrow. I know when Jordan's on. So Chicago Bulls number 23. But yeah, so catch up on that fully loaded transfer show, and that's going to be a regular show on Thursdays over the next few weeks. That'll be really interesting. Really looking forward to that. Big plans for that one.
Yeah, especially when Jordan said he's got more scoops than Liam has.
Oh, did he? No.
I think we misread that. I think Jordan said he drinks more scoops than Liam does.
I can concur. I've been out on the drink with him a few times. He does. He definitely helps me home a few. He's helped me home a few times. I'm telling you.
He does. I'm looking forward to it.
Back to you, Pete, to close out the show.
In your own time before Christmas Day.
No, Pete is frozen, I think.
No, I'm back.
No.
I'm back.
All right.
I'm drifting in and out. But no, it's been a pleasure, guys. Really enjoyed, and Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks, Liam, for coming on. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks a million, Liam, and happy Christmas, everybody. Enjoy that Christmas dinner, and next year we'll be back with the Christmas with the Kennedys. Take care.
Liam.
Good night.